Hello again, fellow YouTubers, Solemn Pleasant back with another Card 5 Vanguard deck profile. And today we have my Aqua deck profile. Now, disclaimer, this does have a solid sleeve, so I put effort into this. This is not, like, my best build. I'm not gonna lie in saying it's not my best build. At this point in time, when I'm uploading this, I currently have two more decks I'm working on. One is going to be a for fun build where I almost put no effort into it, and then the other is actually going to be a serious build that's going to have like a battle tactic and everything. And then we're going to be done with deck profiles. I may like redo some of mine because some of mine might have gone through changes, but for the most part, I'm just going to be re-uploading deck profiles onto the second channel. And this is kind of because, honestly, Vanguard is getting at a point where I can't keep up. Someone actually left me a comment recently about what I thought about a specific Legion unit. Gonna keep that nameless, but with Legion, I can't keep up with it. Guys, I really can't. I do not have the money, and I do not have the time or patience to continuously re-update my decks to meet the current meta, when personally I find that my decks were great the way they were before Legion. So I've already discussed how I feel about Legion, and Stride's a thing too, Stride Generation, that stuff, and I'm just going to say right now that I don't hate Stride. I actually think it's a nice concept. It goes back to what Limit Breaks were, except a little bit different. It's just, I can't keep up. I really cannot. So, and college is coming up soon. I'm at that age where, next year I'm going to college. So, I really do not have as much time to keep up. I really don't. So, I'm going to try to do these last few deck profiles, and then my YouTube channel is not going to have as much Vanguard related things. And that's kind of what the second channel was designed for. It's so that I can upload deck profiles, and keep Vanguard kind of going, whereas I don't have to focus as much on this channel. So, for those of you who really like my Vanguard stuff, thank you for liking that stuff. Please don't unsubscribe just because of that, because my channel does offer so much more. It's just this channel, the Solemn Pleasant channel, isn't going to be offering as much in the near future. There's only two more to go through, and then you'll just have to watch the second channel more or less. So, my apologies for that, but I just felt I had to get that out. And right now as I'm uploading this, it's in November, so in like 2 months it's going to be a new year, and I'm probably going to have my update video on that. So, anywho, I just wanted to get that off my chest, so let's just start with this deck profile. So for the starter, we have Officer Cadet Eric. Standard Grade 3 Searcher, Forerunner, has the ability to look through Grade 3 through the top 5 cards. Pretty good starter, in my opinion, for people who don't want to run a specific form. He's a pretty good starter, in my opinion, really good. Most of the other Aqua stars that I've seen involve a one-term thing with standing and junk, and they don't have consistency. Except for the Blue Storm one, that one has some consistency, that's really good. If I had enough time to build a Blue Storm deck, that would be the deck I would go with for Aqua, but I'm going to use this one because I like these guys. So, there's the starter. For trigger lineups, I run 2 draw trigs of Battle Siren Malika, which has the skill of put her into the soul, give an Aqua Force +3 until the end of the turn. I wanted to add some draw to the Aqua Force deck just to kind of give it some draw advantage, but I didn't want to give it too much because it is a stand deck and it needs power, so that's why I only put 2 in there. I think it's a valid number though. For stands, I used to run 8, now I run 4. 3 Seagull Soldier and 1 Dolphin because I wanted to put in as many different units as possible for this deck. And I moved it down to 4 stand because I realized that Aqua Force can be a heavy stand deck or they can be a heavy crit deck, which Aqua Force honestly works better with the crit that it uses. So I run 6 crit, 3 Mothership, 3 Battleship, both intelligence. All standard, normal crit. I'm aware that Supersonic Sailor is also crit, but honestly, this deck doesn't care about Counterblast that much, and also I have some contingency for that. And also I already have something that goes into the soul anyway. So, just 6 crit. It's pretty standard for Aqua Force. Honestly, when it comes to Aqua Force, and I'm probably going to do more of this when I do a clan video for the second channel, and I may redo it for this channel too, but honestly with Aqua Force, you want to manage between running lots of crit and lots of stand. The only reason I run some draw is so that I have some diversity in the deck, but honestly, you want to run either 8 stand or 8 crit, and then run the 4 heal that you need. Because otherwise, an Aqua Force deck with 4 draw isn't the most effective deck. I'm going to be honest. And then, of course, your 4 heals, again, you got 1 Ice Flow, and then 3 Medical Officer, the Rainbow Elixir. 4 heal, pretty standard. At the very least, that hasn't changed for card fight. At least the heals haven't changed. So there's at least one thing Bushiroad's done right. So there is the trigger lineup. And again, for those of you who wonder why it's like that, it's just the way it is. There's really no rhyme or reason for it, because this is kind of for serious and kind of a budget deck. This deck can win fights, but sometimes it takes a while. For grade 1s, I run 2 Swim Patrol Jellyfish Soldier. I initially didn't put this in the deck, but then I looked at skill of Soul Blast 2 and this is placed on rear guard. I can choose to damage and unflip them. That's actually really good considering I don't use the soul at all in this deck, so the fact that I can get some stuff in the soul and then unflip some counterblast that I might need to use for my grade 3 lineup, which you'll see in a minute. Really good, that's why I only run 2. In any deck, this is actually a thing that's going to be in most clans, so in any deck, it's not bad to consider running 2 of these. It's better than the Soul Blast 2 draw card. It's a very valid unit, I think, in my opinion, and I think Bushiroad did a good job making those units. I run 2 Battle Siren Dorothea, has the standard booster effect of get +4 if you do something. For this one, if it's the 3rd battle or more, get +4. Really good, only run 2, because otherwise that clogs up the deck, and nobody likes deck clogging. I also run 2 Storm Rider Eugene, who has the Diamantes skill of when this unit attacks a Vanguard. If you have an Aqua Force Vanguard, and it's the first battle that turn, this unit gets +2, and at the end of the battle, until the end of the battle, and at the beginning of the close step of the battle, choose another Aqua Force rearguard in the same column as this unit and change positions. I originally would run more of this guy, but he does really clog up the deck. I say those things will clog. This guy clogs up your deck because he's 6k, and unless you're using him to move things around, he's not that good. Whereas this unit, I find, is a little bit better. And that's why I run 4 Wheel Assault, who has the ability of Counterblast 1. At the end of the battle, if this unit boosted an Aqua Force Vanguard, you may pay the cost, and if you do, choose 2 of your Aqua Force rearguards and exchange their position. So, say I have 2 grade 3s on the field, which is possible, and I don't have Diamantes on the field. Spoiler, Diamantes is in this deck, so say I don't have him on the field. Or say I have 2 grade 2s. Have this guy boost the Vanguard, and I can switch those up. So this is a actually really good unit. I don't find myself using his skill that much, but maybe that's just because I don't use this deck as much as some of my other decks. But I still find him as a very valid unit in any Aqua Force deck. This and Dorothea are probably 2 of the 3 units that you almost have to kind of use. And finally, for grade 1s, I run 3 Tier Knight Theo. Theo is that other unit that you kind of want to use. You want to use 8Ks. Aqua Force is one of those decks where you do still kind of want to run 8Ks. There are certain decks where you don't necessarily have to run 8Ks, but honestly, the more I think about it, most of my decks run 8Ks, except for maybe like 1 or 2. There are still some decks where you don't, but Aqua Force I find is one where you do. So there's the grade 1 lineup. And honestly, it's not the worst lineup at all. Some things I might change that I would consider changing would be Eugene's would definitely be one for P-Guards maybe, but again, I don't have time, so we're not even going to bother with that. For grade 2s, 1 Coral Assault. 3rd turn or more, becomes an 11k. Nice unit to have, only use 1. 1 Battle Siren Clistelia. I've been testing with her, and she's not the worst unit to have. She has the counterblast ability of when this unit attack hits a Vanguard. If you have an Aqua Force Vanguard and this is the 4th battle or more that turn, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose another Aqua Force rearguard, stand it, and it gets +5. So, say my Vanguard didn't hit, and then I can have her attack, And if she manages to hit, I can send something else with +5, so only run 1 because I don't want to rely on her skill, but it's not a bad skill, in my opinion. Running 2 Twin Strike Brave Shooter has the skill of when this unit attacks. If you have an Aqua Force Vanguard, and if the number of rested rearguards you have is 2 or less, this unit gets +3, so it'll become a 12k. As you can see with most of this deck kind of runs on a Toolbox Grade 2 lineup, and a Toolbox Grade 3 lineup. I don't have any specific units. One that I do run 3 of because I think it's a fantastic unit, Tidal Assault. Has the rearguard ability of when this unit... At the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. If you have an Aqua Force Vanguard, stand this unit and it gets -5 till the end of the turn. Really amazing unit. 3 or 4 for any Aqua Force deck at all. 3 or 4. Hands down. It's a really good unit. Really something Aqua Force needed. Really good overall. Again, if I was being very serious about this deck, he would still be at 3 or 4. Because he's really good. One Marine General of the Restless Tides, Algos. Has the skill, if it's the 4th battle or more and I hit, I draw a card. Nice for pressure, for when my opponent doesn't have as many cards and I can get advantage. Same thing with Tyranite Valeria. Does the same thing for Algos, except I can blow up a rearguard. So again, used there for when my opponent may be at some damage where he or she could use damage, but she doesn't want to give it up because she might lose something in the process. So only run 1 of each of these guys because again, don't like banking on them. And then 3 Tyranite Lazarus, which is the 10k, which 10k is also standard in most Aqua Force decks. These two, definitely. The rest of these are all optional. You can really, in most Aqua Force decks, you run 3 to 4 of both of these guys, and then fill up your last grade 2 column with something that you find useful. Any of these could be useful. My picks would go to Valeria or Algos. But those are just my picks, in all honesty. These 3 are kind of but you could still use them. So there's the grade 2 lineup. And once I'm done picking these up, I will show you the grade 3 lineup, which is again a toolbox thing. So this deck is a serious toolbox, I guess you could say. This is the closest thing that I can make to a serious toolbox. And I could say this deck is on par with, say, my Raptor deck, which has some heart put into it, but not enough of money put into it to the point where I want it to be like the best, so you wouldn't see me playing this one necessarily in tournaments. This would be one where I would play against my opponent maybe in like a shop tournament or maybe just for fun, but other than that, meh. So I run 2 Stormrider Diamantes. I still love Diamantes. I still think it's a valid unit. Has the skill of when this unit attacks a Vanguard. If you have an Aqua Force Vanguard, and it's the first battle of this turn, this unit becomes an 11k. And at the end of the battle, and at the close-up at the beginning of the close-up at the end of the battle, choose another Aqua Force rearguard and switch places. So put a grade 2 or another grade 3 behind this guy, 11, and then swap. So I really like Diamantes. I think 2 to 3 is arguably... 3 is pretty much pushing it. Run 2 of this guy in almost any Aqua Force deck because this guy gets you those 3 and 4th battles that Aqua Force is so well known for. And he can survive longer, except for like clans that can snipe the back row. Because once he is done attacking, he swaps, and then your opponents cannot attack him. Because even Eradicators start with the front row, so this guy, they're going to need to give up some stuff in order to kill this guy in the back row. So I still find Diamantes as a very valid unit, despite what some people think. And now I'm just going to show you the rest of my grade 3 lineup. 1 Cobalt Wave, 1 Hydro Hurricane, 1 Naval Gazer, 1 Blue Flight Dragon Transcore Dragon, 1 Blue Wave Dragon Tetra Dragon, and of course, my most beloved Aqua Force unit, 1 Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom. So, why don't I run Maelstrom Reverse? For one thing, I was considering him, but then at one point I'm just like, I don't have the time or patience to get Maelstrom Reverse. I really do not, so I just kind of went with Cobalt Wave and Hydro Hurricane because they do have valid skills. So I'm just going to go through each of their skills because pretty much what this grade 3 lineup says is, hey, once I get a grade 3, let's work with that. And then maybe if we get another grade 3, call it to rearguard, or simply just right on top of it, and pretty much be unpredictable to my opponent. Starting with Cobalt, who is a 10k, has the Limit Break 4 ability of when your rearguard attacks a Vanguard, if it's the third battle of that turn or more, this unit gets +2 in a crit. So actually, this guy can become a 14k swinger with 3 critical pretty quickly. So say I'm running some Title or Diamantes. Have Diamantes, have one of those, have Title, and then have Title get boosted. You know, this guy can rack up some power and crit very validly. It doesn't power up very easily, but at the very least you get +2 in a crit, so automatically your opponent's going to want to guard that because that crit is really what's going to annoy your opponents. It really is. And also the Vanguard ability, when this unit attacks, if it's the 4th battle or more that turn, this unit gets +5, so I can become a 17k with a crit, meaning you're going to need at least 10k. So it's actually a somewhat valid unit, in my opinion. It's not the best. It's not. And I know it's not, but I find him somewhat valid. So there's that. Next, Hydrogaze, who has the Limit Break ability of Act Counterblast 2. Until the end of the turn, this unit gets +3, and the auto ability of when this unit attack hits Vanguard, and it's the 4th battle or more that turn, retire all your opponent's rearguards, and when this unit attacks Vanguard, this unit gets +3. So this is what I call the triple rare version of Navel Gazer. And also has the nuclear bomb ability of blow up all the rearguards. For just a Counterblast 2, so this guy's Limit Break is really pressure based, because it's like, hey, if I'm attacking, you're losing all rearguards unless you block. So this is pretty much a Vanguard where it's like, block it or die. Again, it's a 10k, so it will get bullied very easily, but it's still somewhat a valid 10k, and I do like its artwork, so I do like Hydrogaze. Next we have Navel Gazer, who is actually a somewhat valid unit still. Act Limit Break 4 Counterblast 2, this unit gets +3, and gets the auto ability of when this unit attack hits Vanguard, if it's the 3rd battle of that turn or more, choose up to 2 your Aqua Force rearguards and stand them. And it also has the auto ability of when this unit attacks, if it's the 3rd battle or more that turn, gets +3, so I can become a 16k. This guy applies pressure because I can pretty much be like, attack, and then 2 of my rearguards, stand back up, so I can stand up the front row, and if I get any stands during my drive check, stand up the boosters. So, still valid, again, a 10k, so he will get bullied a lot, but he can be a valid unit as well. The first 3 aren't as valid as the second 3, so let's just get in. Have one of the Break Ride, which is Blue Flight Dragon Trans Core Dragon, has the Break Ride ability of get +10, and your Vanguard will get the auto ability of when this unit attacks a Vanguard, your opponent must choose a card from his or her hand and discard it. If he or she does not, until the end of the battle, this unit gets +1 crit, and your opponent cannot call units to guard from hand. So, what this unit states, this is a really good Break Ride. I know that Blue Storms also have a Break Ride, but this one is still pretty good, and that's why it's still high in price. I Break Ride, and I attack for 21, or 20, depending on who I Break Ride, and if my opponent does not guard, at the most, they can have a 31... They can have a 30 or 31k guard just from, because it does say from hand. So if I have special intercepts on the field, that can still survive. So I can keep my hand and hope that they do not get a trigger, and hopefully they're not being boosted. But that almost never happens, so you're pretty much killing your opponent's hand quicker. It's a really good Break Ride. That's why it gets the big bucks. That's why it's expensive. I just pulled this out of the blue and I'm like, hey, let's use it. It also has the ability of when this unit attacks, this unit gets +2. And it has the Lord ability, so no. Really good Break Ride. Only run one because I only have one, so there's that. And now for the 2 biggest bosses of the deck, starting with Blue Wave Dragon Tetra Drive Dragon, who has the Limit Break ability of at the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, if it's the 2nd battle of that turn, until the end of the turn, this unit gets the auto ability of Counterblast 2, choose 2 Aqua Force from your hand, discard them. At the end of the battle that your rearguard attacked a Vanguard, if it is the 4th battle of that turn, you may pay the cost, and if you do, stand this unit, and it also has the active ability Counterblast 1, get +2. And it's the Lord. This guy is specifically for pressure late game. This guy with the Break Ride was, at its time, one of the most effective combos ever. Break Ride. I attack on second turn. Oh crap. Get rid of some stuff and guard with my hand. Hey, alright, now that one of my rear guards attack, stand again and do it again. Really effective. Still can be effective. On his own, he can be effective. Really good card, in my opinion. I had two, but I traded one to get some more stuff. Limited this down to one because, one's good enough. And again, because this is kind of a toolbox grade 3 and grade 2 lineup. Still really good unit, but the only unit I love more than Tetra is, of course, you all remember this guy from my first ever box opening, Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom. Has the limit break ability of when this unit attacks a Vanguard. If it's the 4th battle of that turn or more, this unit gets +5, and the auto ability of Counterblast 1 when this unit attack hits a Vanguard. Attack hits, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. And it has the, if there's a non-Aqua Force Vanguard or rear guard, if you have a non-Aqua Force Vanguard or rear guard, this unit has -2. But, you know, considering Bushiroad decided to nerf all mixed clans indefinitely, except for Omega and Majesty, this effect really does not bother me. At all. Like, there's no problem here. Really good unit. Reverse Maelstrom is a bit better. I'm not gonna lie in saying it's not, but, you know, I pulled this guy on my first pack of a box opening. I still love this guy. This guy is one of my personal favorites. He will always be one of my personal favorites. And that's why I use him. So, there's my whole grade 3 lineup. And that's pretty much my Aqua Force deck profile. I'm really sorry if you were expecting like a very serious one. I have, like I said, one more serious deck profile to go through and one non-serious. I think you'll kind of laugh at the non-serious, and I hope you guys like the serious one. I really hope I can get those out as quickly as I can. And again, you won't be seeing that many more deck profiles because I'm kind of running out of steam at this point. I've also said this before. Anyway, this has been Solid and Pleasant, signing off.